Hello there. Welcome back to another episode today. Well, you know the whole routine. You know the MO. Like and subscribe if you like what you see. You know, I found out that if you don't have a comment to put in the comment section below our video, I heard you can just use emojis as well. Okay, so I heard that works just as effective as you know, actual comments.
But what are they liking and subscribing to?
Yeah. Well, that. Well, you want me to do this? Well, okay. Let's introduce ourselves.
I'm Mark.
Shall we? Oh, let me do it.
Oh, okay.
Let me do it. I came in prepared.
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the handsome being you see across from me.
Freshly washed.
Yes. He makes the perfect Irish chili you ever had.
Irish.
Exactly. 239 beans. One more would make it too far. Anyways, this is Mark.
And this guy who thinks he's really funny, that's Elmer.
I try my best. We are PSI, Piano Scene Investigations. And we are looking for the bottom and the top of the iceberg just for you folks. And we bring it to you today.
I thought we were doing the whole iceberg.
The whole iceberg?
Not just the top and the bottom. Right?
Well, yeah, we do. But we got to start somewhere. We can't just take it all.
Yeah, that's
the
image that we often use. That, you know, icebergs, what you see above the water is sometimes only 1/4, 1/3, 1/5 of the whole thing. And the rest of it's underwater. And we're figuring that's the reality of celebrity versus all the other people that do the work too. And just things didn't click all the right ways for them to be above the water.
Yeah.
But they're still part of that massive iceberg of the historic world of piano and music and things like that. And we have an unending and somewhat unbounded passion for most all of it.
Yeah, almost maniacal sometimes.
Yeah.
You'll find out later. Go ahead, Brandon. So, do you remember when we were just kids? Did you ever listen to like FM radio?
When FM, it was AM.
FM, AM, I mean.
AM, sure. You know, transistor radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, that was just, now that you mentioned it, pop, 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 pop. Do you remember the popcorn?
Yeah.
And I can't remember exactly the melody, but the Captain and Tennille, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah, 70s kind of stuff. You know?
Did you ever listen to Casey Kasem on Sundays?
Of course.
Top 50?
Yeah, well, he was on TV too, wasn't he?
I don't know if he was ever on TV. He
no,
might have been none of them.
No, I remember Casey Kasem.
But Casey Kasem, you know, on Sunday. I don't know, it was Saturday morning or Sunday morning? It was Saturday morning.
I thought it was Saturday.
Oh, it was Saturday.
He was,
what?
Was he Turkish? Or
I have no clue.
That's where his name came from, Kasem. He was Arabic or Turkish or something like that originally. But super popular. He was like Mr. Popular Music for
he
decades.
was. You couldn't recognize his voice. You knew his voice, and you knew it was time for America's Top 50.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I bring that up because about 5 to 10 years ago, I had thought about I had thought about why doesn't our classical music station ever do a top 50, right? You know, WOSU. They play classical music all the time, and you figured they would do a top 50, depending, you know, the orchestra or the instrumentalist. But lo and behold, I did ask one of my colleagues about it, and he says, "Well, somebody's already beaten you to that. That was already sailed off years ago." He says, "Haven't you ever heard about the top 100, 200 classical pieces that are most requested in Europe?" Right? So, anyways, so he gave me an example. He sort of emailed the site to us, and so I got to see the top 100, top 200 classical pieces that are most requested in Europe. Okay, and the results were absolutely astonishing. Tchaikovsky didn't even make it to the top 20. You would think the Tchaikovsky concerto, piano concerto, would be at least one of the top 20. Didn't make it. Now, I'll tell you who did make it to the top 10. The Rachmaninoff second and third concertos. They did make it to the top 10. Who made it to the top 5?
Mozart in there?
No.
No Mozart? Beethoven, of course.
No.
No?
Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue made it to the top 5.
Wow.
The top 5. Now, this was years ago, okay, folks, and I don't remember where everything was. I was kind of hoping, like maybe Howard Hanson's Symphony No. 2 would be. That one wasn't even the top 100. Planets, Gustav Holst made it to the top 100 at least. But the number 1, I was more interested who made number 1, and this answer might actually surprise you. The First Cuckoo of the Spring. Have you heard of it? It's by the English composer Frederick Delius. It made number 1.
What's the piece called?
First Cuckoo in the Spring.
Was this a British list?
That's what I was wondering, but he says it was European, and I believed him, and it looked like it was very European.
I've never
because there was comments. I've never heard of the piece either, but that made number 1.
No, well, when you asked me about that, that would have reminded me of
what?
Years ago on TV.
Yeah.
What was it? The top 100 classical pieces.
Yeah.
On an LP.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, as a bonus, there was the top 50.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you buy it?
Oh, you're talking
about. We used
about.
to do this thing where they used to have advertisements on TV. You could get COD, cash on delivery.
Yeah.
They actually trusted people that when the mailman showed up with the package, you give him cash, and apparently he was trusted to take it.
Yeah.
And you get your stuff. Or you could, see, people didn't use credit cards much back then.
No.
Checks. You could write them a check and send it to them.
Yeah.
Or you could do COD.
COD, cash on
Well,
delivery.
there was this, I forget what the guy's name is. British actor.
Yep, he had a mustache.
Tall guy with the mustache.
Like this.
Yeah, he's
the
a
masterpiece.
very famous classic.
The most famous orchestras in the world.
I think he did. I think he played a role where he was a police detective with Scotland Yard or something.
He could have been.
You'd recognize him.
But he was very dapper. He had a 3-piece.
And I thought, and I was just beginning to take piano lessons. I mean, seriously, with Professor Wynn.
Do you remember the Beethoven bust?
Yeah.
On the side.
Well, they were playing all these excerpts from all of these, and just scrolling through
down,
pieces.
Yeah.
There's 100 top orchestra pieces, symphonies by everybody, and overtures and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then you got also the 50 top piano pieces. And
Yeah. Oh, no, that was a bonus.
That was
a bonus. This is the piano masterpieces.
That's a bonus. You're going to get this one.
Yeah.
So, I was ignorant. I was only, 14 or so.
Yeah.
And from the Midwest and from Ohio.
Yeah.
And I was kind of new to this whole classical game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So 3 records, 3 LPs
Three
show up
LPs.
in a box. And I get them out and I start playing them. And it goes, ba 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 ba, ba 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 ba, and it fades away. And you get bum, 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 bum.
I know it.
It's like 2 minutes, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, how much could you fit on 2 LPs? It was
Yeah.
like 35 minutes on the side, maybe.
Something like that.
30 minutes, 25, 30.
Yeah.
So it's possible, right? I mean, 100 and 2. Yeah, it's possible. But basically, they were excerpts.
Excellent. Exactly.
And come on. And then there were 50 of them.
Yeah.
Of piano things.
Yeah.
On the side. But you know what it was useful for?
What?
I kind of like that. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
You know? I gotta look that up. It was like a little tidbit.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's sort of a sampler.
Yeah.
Sampler.
And actually that led me to exploring other things eventually. But I would love to look in here and see if I still have those albums. Because of all the things I've had in my life, you know, and I've traveled a lot in the world and stuff went into storage, stuff came with me. And, oh my God, I've lost a number of things. I remember stuff here, but I don't have it anymore.
Yeah, either do I.
But my records have generally survived because I did not send those abroad. Those always went into boxes and in storage when I went overseas.
Yeah.
So it's possible that they're over there. Because one of the things I do have is that old Funkin' Vocals.
Yeah,
20 album set. It was through Big Bear, where it was like, you know, you guys probably, younger people won't know. We used to do like green stamp programs and things like that. And you get a little booklet and you buy so many groceries and you get a stamp, you put it in the book, and then you could trade that in for things that they would have.
Yeah.
So my mom's cookware was for Big Bear. This really cheap, ugly green stuff.
Yeah.
Thin, awful, nasty metal stuff.
Yeah.
But she did come home one day from Big Bear, and she had a record. And I guess you got the record if you spent so much money.
Yeah.
And they put one out every week. So for 20 weeks, you could get a new album that came out. And then at some point, I don't know if it was the beginning or near the end, they had a slipcase for it.
Yeah.
Blue slipcase. I'll get it out maybe next week and I'll show it to you.
Okay.
It's interesting because most of the performers and everybody in there, it's all European stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any American artists.
No. Except for Rhapsody in Blue. They did play Rhapsody in Blue on that thing.
No, I don't mean composer. I mean the actual performers.
Oh, the performers. Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting because it's those kind of like, what was that one called that guy did? The South German something.
Alfred Schultzer or something like that.
Now, some of them were more known than others. I think even Alfred Brindle might even be in there somewhere. But, you know, there's some concerti, violin concerti, all that stuff. It's a really great set.
Yeah.
And they were all European people, which was kind of cool because, as we'd said before at Camelot Records, most of what you would get would be RCA and Columbia to start with.
Yeah.
And those were generally, now they could have been born in Europe, but Americanized, you know, known in America artists, things in the symphony orchestras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because the recording industry and the record store, they're all controlled. But we also talked about when Angel Records and Seraphims started to show up. And then Deutsche Gramophones. And what was his name? Herbert von Karajan.
Yeah.
You know, I'm about wet my pants with. They got Herbert von Karajan!
Yeah, I know.
What, Mom? They got Herbert von Karajan!
Yeah.
She said, "Oh, good for you, honey. Let's go." So that's what reminded me of that top 100 thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know who Frederick Delius is. I know that some people are really nutsoid about his music. You know, you ain't gonna get that kind of response from us.
I don't know that. I don't know the composer well.
I know that
I really don't.
But I don't know the piece. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know the
Maybe
piece.
we should look up and see if this right piece.
All I remember is it's a very slow, gentle piece, and you hear some kind of
Philly.
That's not your phone, is it?
No, it's the doorbell.
Oh, okay.
Amazon.
Anyways, I don't know whether they're using like a clarinet to go the cuckoo thing in the background.
Well, I would have thought a more famous cuckoo would have been Leopold Mozart.
Leopold Mozart, yeah. Or the cuckoo by Jean-Louis Daquin.
Yeah,
that's piano. Yeah, that one's gotten a lot of mileage. So, in a minute, folks, I'm going to let you know about why I did bring up Frederick Delius. Mark may not like this. Just give you a hint. But he might like this. Who knows?
I use a delivery from Amazon. I don't know.
Okay. Well, anyways, so Frederick Delius. I'm willing to admit I don't know the guy that well. I have to survey his works one day. But what I do know is he did write a very small handful of piano solos, which brings us to PSI, All Pieces Considered. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I did my research on this one. We'll see what happens. But anyways, I sure miss our boys.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, the boys. You mentioned that.
Yeah.
They came back from summer camp, and then, of course, right away with the time of year of this, it's the end of August. They're looking to start kindergarten. Now, Grover's already, he's an advanced alien being, but still, everybody sees him. He looks like a little toddler.
Yeah. Well, he might be in an advanced placement.
Could be.
Classes, you never know.
Yeah. He can teach him how to fly.
Oh yeah, Boogie Howser. So, anyways, welcome to PSI's All Pieces Considered. I hear.
No, I think that's all.
Okay. Anyways, and the pieces I brought. Let's start this again. The piece I brought in today for to be considered is, if I can pull it out, The Three Preludes by Frederick Delius.
Oh, in plastic.
In plastic, because it's an old piece of, it's...
Old piece of crap.
No, not a piece of crap. Not a doggy bag, folks. But there's other stuff in here as well, surprisingly. Now,
oh, yeah?
Yeah. Now, like Mark said, neither he nor I know this composer very well. And chances are neither one of us know these pieces very much.
It gets mentioned in... I have a subscription to Gramophone and BBC Magazine, which I really love. Yeah. Because just from cover to cover, you British people are wonderful. I know that you've been suffering with money in the country and for the support of the arts and things like that, but still, there's still a great passion and amateur. Oh, yeah. But the interesting thing about the British amateurs, so to speak, find it hard for some professors in other countries to compete with their knowledge and their expertise and the things that they're fascinated with.
Yeah, they're wonderful orators. The way they
but
speak.
this guy, he gets a mention quite often.
Oh,
in those magazines.
He does?
Yeah, Delius. Yeah.
Wow, well, that's amazing. Well, later on, I'll tell you, he did earn the respect of two other composers. One of them, Florent Schmidt. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
And surprisingly, even Maurice Ravel. And I'll show you why in a little bit. But these are the three preludes for piano forte, according to what this says. Geez, I don't know how you would translate. Printed in England. It says here, the Anglo-French series, Oxford University Press, 36 Soho Square, London, W1, United States, Carl Fisher Incorporated, 56 Cooper Square, New York City. So we must have some ties here as far as publishing. But this is what it is. Now, what can I tell you about the three preludes? Well, let's start first with Frederick Delius. Born in 1862, died in 1934. These pieces were composed in somewhere about 1922 to 1923. They're very, they're very short. They're not very extensive. The first movement is a scherzando. It's in 6/8, and well, it suggests the key of D major, but since the treatment of the material is more modal harmonically, I'm going to say D Ionian is what I'm going to say. Number 2, the second movement is, the tempo is just as quick. It is in 3/4, and I felt that a lot of the figuration is rather reminiscent of Prokofiev's Prelude from Opus 12. I mean, you could even see it when you look at it, straight blank. The third movement is a con moto in 2/4, and it's rather has this rather undulating movement. It's rather perpetual. But anyways, I found these pieces very charming. If you're looking for music that's sort of impressionistic, but unmistakably very English in the way these are composed, it has sort of a if you could imagine being out in the fields of England, wind blowing, the rather cloudy sky, and the gentle breeze you could breathe in and just smell the fields. That's what it reminds me of, this work. As far as being impressionism, it doesn't get too complicated. These pieces are mostly for, I would imagine, for a general audience consumption, really.
Well,
It's not, it's a practically a no-brainer. They're very attractive works. I'm sorry?
When was he born?
He was born in the year 1862.
Oh, good Lord. So,
Died in 1934. These works were composed in 1922-23.
yeah, so he was an old dude when he wrote these.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting when I see it, the first one, just show them.
Yeah.
We'll show them from here.
Okay.
We'll just show them the first one. It looks to me like a very well written student exercise in 2-part writing.
Yeah.
First page. Look at it.
You can see with the immediate chords that there's something 7th. Something indeterminate about them, but there's good control over the ideas. But in general, just looking at the piece, especially like the second one, like you said, I can see where there's like an intermediate level,
Yeah.
maybe a little bit more than an advanced intermediate.
Oh, yeah.
So they could be played by a lot of people.
Yeah. But they're gorgeous. I mean, they're very, like I said, it's, if you want to present impressionism to a general audience, you really can't go wrong with this one. It's they're delightful. I'm sure your audiences will love that work. There are very few performances of these works on YouTube. I could only mention maybe 3 or 4, and they're all unknown pianists. Now, in addition to that, there are some other interesting things here. It wasn't the only work that he composed. Here is one. Okay, this is a rather a vague title. Dance for Harpsichord. But in parentheses it says piano solo. Interesting. This is the Universal Edition. Whatever that means. Oh,
Universal Editions for Vienna.
yeah, that's what I see here. Vienna and Leipzig. It says copyright 1922. Wow, look at this. Rights of performance strictly reserved.
I think that's expired. But
Yeah, I hope so. So anyways, it does look very harpsichordy. Now, you've played harpsichord, yeah? Now, I noticed in some editions of Scarlatti, okay, particularly the more I'm thinking maybe 1970s or 1960s, perhaps.
Mhm.
Some editions of the Scarlatti sonatas have like extra notes.
I don't
You
know.
know, some of the, because later
I have
on,
the complete. I have two different versions. I have didn't Dover do all the Scarlattis?
not all of them,
Well, but there's like
but there's
four
like four
volumes.
books. There's four
And
books.
then I have 7 or 8 volumes by Ricordi, Italian,
Yeah,
and it's complete everything
yeah,
of Scarlatti. Yeah.
yeah. I remember I saw those.
So what do
They're
you mean by
amazing.
extra notes?
Well, I've noticed in some editions, I particularly remember looking at a D minor sonata by Scarlatti.
That's very famous.
Yeah,
My
that,
dad learned that.
But-
I have his original score of that.
but there's some editions that have to have more notes in it. Like, you know how sometimes he likes to use those D, A, D, left hand
Yeah.
tonal support. There's some editions that have like D, F natural, G sharp, A, and a D.
7th like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be monkey, adjusted, modernized,
Yeah.
things like that. The things I found in Scarlatti is not easy to play.
No, it's not.
Just the sheer jumping around of virtuosity. Now, the one thing to consider, in some cases, he had 2 keyboards.
Yeah.
And I played 2 manual, 5 octave organ on Sundays. It's a different thing. I mean, you can kind of move stuff around on either one. The piano kind of spreads it all out on one big long field.
Yeah.
But I get the impression sometimes when I played Scarlatti or when I learned something, like there's some things that I don't do.
Yeah.
Because I think the boy was a little bit von Weber or Rachmaninoff-like.
Oh,
I think he had big hands
okay. Yeah.
to some extent. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Sometimes there's some leaps or stretches that, I've got what Howard thought was a basic piano, had a wide palm, decent figures. I mean, but I'm like, I can get ninths in both hands, and I can stretch a minor 10th over here.
Mm-hmm.
A few, depending on what the notes are, major 10th. Beyond the major ninth in my right hand, I'm not very good.
Wow.
I mean, I have to break it.
Yeah, right.
But there's just moments in Scarlatti where go hard. But he also had access to forte pianos.
Yeah, I heard that too. Yeah.
Because was it Queen Isabella or Princess
Prince
to start with?
Yeah, he was in Spain.
And was it Isabella?
Spain.
I don't have to look at that.
Yeah,
Maybe I'll look
it might
at
be.
Bobby Stoddard.
But Earl Wilde used to say about Scarlatti sonatas, it's quite witty. He says that you can often tell the difference between the early sonatas from the late sonatas, because the early sonatas he used to do a lot of hand crossings like this.
Yeah.
And then when he got older, apparently he enjoyed the food and drink so much that he got so large he couldn't cross his arms. But anyways, this is the Dance for Harpsichord. It's a 2-pager. It's not a very long piece. It's very brief. It is a grazioso, piuttosto, un poco vivo. Boy, that is a mouthful. Can you say that? How's your Italian? You say that.
Grazioso, piuttosto un poco vivo. So it means graciously, and piuttosto means, of course, the touch just a bit lively. Yeah, this is not original. Oh, this is Delius. Okay.
This is Delius.
Yeah, okay.
It's not
I was
Scarlatti.
going to say that's not Scarlatti's writing.
No. But I had to ask about that because look at the way the notes are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of some clusters here and there. It sounds different to me. And to imagine that, doing that on a harpsichord even.
This looks like a bit of a... This, I would say, is not necessarily written for popular consumption.
No, it is. I don't think so.
This is the density and some of the way that the stuff's written, and the way it would fit in the hands and so forth, and all these sixths.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Now
That's a serious piece.
yes, there are one or two performances of this on YouTube. Check this out. This is the here. I'll show you the title page. I'm glad for these scores I got today. They're not high gloss, so you don't have to worry about the light glare, you know. But anyways, this is what it looks like on the inside. Check it out. It's only 2 pages long, folks. And it's a very happy piece. That's for one thing for sure. Now the dedicatee is one Mrs. Violet Gordon Woodhouse.
Yeah.
I have no clue who that is. Now, even though we mentioned the tempo at the beginning of the piece, it's nice to know that he gives you some resting places here under the digressions titled Molto Tranquillo
Oh, there it is.
and Più Tranquillo. Very good. Dance quietly.
I found,
You found what?
well, the most famous name. I don't know why. Isabella is the one that's associated with Columbus. No, but this name, I remember it. He went to Madrid, became a music master of the Princess Maria Barbara,
Maria Barr.
and she became the Queen of Spain.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
You ready
Yeah.
for this next one?
Yep.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier that Frederick Delius had earned the respect of 2 other composers, Florent Schmidt.
Yeah, I think there was Schmidt was
And-
Danish or something, weren't they?
I have absolutely no
Florent
clue. You could be
Schmidt.
right, Florent Schmidt. You could be right. But anyways, the other composer was Maurice Ravel. And what I have here, published and distributed by the Delius Trust, London, 1995. Distributors and Soul Selling Agents, Boozy and Hawkes Music Publishers Limited.
No.
Wow. Now this does have a high gloss cover.
This guy was French.
Who? Florent Schmidt?
Schmidt.
Okay.
He was.
Well, they were both French then.
Delius is English.
Yeah, I know.
Schmidt was French.
Okay.
And
Cool.
he was probably Alsatian, maybe.
Was he or she part of the Les Six?
No.
Oh, it's a he.
Yeah.
Okay.
Type of dude.
Yeah, he looks kind of like Ravel.
Lived a long time, 1870 to 1958. 1870 to 1958.
That's a good long time.
Back in those days, yeah. Which means he was there for the Franco-Prussian Wars. He was pretty young.
Wow.
And, man, survived all the way through World War I, World War II. Lived a long time. I don't know his stuff, so I know the name. Because I think I played some stuff of his in the past.
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was, though. And I don't think it made a massive impression on me. So, anyway.
Okay, so anyways, here's what we have for you. Some more music by Frederick Delius in the form of arrangements for the solo piano by Ravel and Florent Schmidt.
Oh,
So this is quite interesting.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
So these books, they were put in there by, you bought these all together in that plastic bag, right?
Well, those 2. This I picked up over at Stanton's years ago.
Oh.
This is like pre-Kathy.
Where'd you find something like that? Because it seems like a collector put that together.
Book sale.
Really?
Book sale. Those 2. Yeah.
Library?
Yeah.
In that thing?
In that thing.
Wow.
In that thing. Yeah. So, but anyways.
Who's the publisher of this stuff?
Okay, it says here, Delius Trust, London, 1995, distributes and sold selling agents, Boozy and Hawkes, Music
Boozy and
Publishers
Hawkes,
Limited.
yeah.
So, but anyways, get a load of this. These are scenes from operas. Maurice Ravel did piano arrangements of music from Margot La Rouge. It's an opera. He does the prelude, and I guess there's a famous duet from the opera as well, and he arranged that for solo piano. Then there's another one here, Ermelin. Now, every once in a while I do hear the name Ermelin.
Emily.
Ermelin.
I don't
guess.
know.
Well, I don't know.
I've
how you
seen
say
it. Hermelin, right?
Irmelin. Yeah. You want to see it?
Yeah.
That's right there.
Oh, Hermelin by Florence Schmidt.
Yeah.
And these are arranged by.
No, that's by
It's
those
all
two.
arranged by Delius.
No, these are
Oh, these are his
operas.
works.
Yeah, arranged by
Arranged-
Ravel
wow.
and Schmidt.
Wow. Well, there's some notes there.
Yeah, there are some notes.
Oh.
So, anyways, I found that quite fascinating. But there's now I haven't
You ever
tried.
play this stuff?
I'm sorry.
You ever play it?
I've dabbled with it. Apparently, it was a good enough work for Ravel that he gives specific instructions here as far as how you want to program it.
Oh.
He says here he adds a few bars here in case you want to end the first prelude, the prelude. But if you want to go on, he says, do not play these measures. Instead, end here and move on to the duet.
Uh-huh.
So those are his specific instructions. They're written fairly well. Everything that I told you about the three preludes, you can find in here. These works, even though they're from operas, pianistically they're far more advanced. Okay, so here the runs are much more expansive. You get to use the much, good 3/4, 2/3 of the piano. There's octaves, there's double notes that ornament a lot of the melodies here and there. So it's all in here. It's all piano music here. Very English. Here, let me show it to you. I'll try and see if I can get the glare out. There we go. It's not particularly a imaginative cover, but it is a score. Oh goodness. So, anyways, hopefully, maybe in the future we'll might run into some more Delius.
There's some interesting information real quick here.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why we should know him, I knew this about him.
You did.
He was in Florida for a while.
He was in Florida.
Born 1962, died 1934. So he made 72 years. He was born in northern England. He was sent to Florida in 1884 to manage an orange plantation.
Ooh.
He was 22 years old at the time. Neglected his managerial duties, and 2 years later returned to Europe. However, during that short period, he was greatly influenced by African American music. So he was there. He did some study in Germany, which is where he had his first successes. And then later on, not so later on, he was hitting on 40 or so. Thomas Beecham began to direct his music in London. And then things kind of took off for him.
What?
Well, when he was in Europe studying,
Yeah.
Germany and Paris,
Okay.
he caught syphilis while he was in Paris.
While he was in Paris.
And by 1918, he was starting to have the effects of it. Became paralyzed and blind.
Oh boy.
Completed his later compositions between 28 and 32 with an amanuensis musical secretary that wrote stuff down for him.
Wow.
But not bad. I mean, it kind of hit him later on. He was 38, 18. He was 56 years old when it started to tear him up.
Oh boy.
And he still made it for another 16 years before he died.
Mm-hmm.
A handsome fellow.
Oh yeah.
See?
Wow. Good looking fellow.
Looks British.
Yeah, looks very British.
Yeah. Looks a little bit like King Charles III a little bit, doesn't he?
I know. I was going to say.
He's got that nose,
Yeah.
Foreign and everything. Yeah, it's very
So,
King Charles is great.
anyways, yeah. if you're interested in getting some more about Frederick Delius's piano music, according to this, let's see, distributed by Boozy and Hawkes, I guess they published all of his music in volumes. Volume number 33.
Holy crap.
I know. Volume number 33 contains the complete works for piano solo. So it's I guess its code number is 7929. If you're interested, volume 33. Amazing.
I'll tell you one thing.
What?
This is a massive article in Wikipedia.
Oh yeah?
I've been scrolling through this thing. I'm only halfway down the whole article.
Really?
Massive stuff. Lots of famous people. They've got pictures of Grieg. Other people in here.
Wow.
And a map of Florida where he was.
Huh.
And here's a whole thing about the black influence on his music and stuff. I played.
What?
Well, a collection. You know, those older books like for my dad's generation.
Yeah.
50 American compositions kind of thing, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I remember playing this Mambo Plantation. I don't know what the title was, but something. It was Frederick Delius. I learned it years and years ago.
Huh.
This is Greenwald.
Wow.
And it was Frederick Delius. And it was only later I realized he wasn't an American composer because his piece was in the book.
Yeah.
But he must have written it based upon his experience in Florida. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is very cool.
I've occasionally, when I was, just as a side, because music in a plastic bag like that, when I was, I spent 8 years teaching in Cyprus.
Yeah.
Now, I was in the northern half, in the Turkish half. I was teaching at Eastern Mediterranean University. We'll go into all that history and everything, but Cypriot people are wonderful folks.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the southern part is Greek, top part's Turkish, but they're all Cypriots. And a wonderful, really good sense of humor, I thought, with the people, whether north or south. I mean, there's more so in the north, maybe, and the Greeks would say, more Turks in the north than there are Turkish Cypriots. But anyway, down in the south, the central island city is called Nicosia. Most people know it as the Turks call it. Anyway, Nicosia.
Yeah.
My head's skipping here, but my point was I love to go down there sometimes for various things. But there's a wonderful man old Greek fellow, not ancient, but he'd been around for a while.
Yeah.
And you would go back in this little side streets. I found it on my own. I was really proud of myself. I found it. It's called Partasides.
Huh.
And it was a music store. It's called in Turkish is Lefkoşa in Nicosia. But in the international community, people know it mostly Nicosia. Because Walter Cronkite used to come on back in the 70s with the Civil War they had in Cyprus.
Huh.
Today in Nicosia, you
Yeah.
did see these guys shooting. Who would have thought that I was right there in that place? And the bullet holes in the buildings were still there. But I love Mr. Partasides. He was such a wonderful man. It was an old music store. It had been there since at least the 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
As was a lot of the stuff in the store, which was older than Mr. Partasides himself. Because I think it belonged to his dad.
Yeah.
And then he inherited it. But he was at least in his 60s, maybe, youngish 70s looking. But it was wonderful because I just come in, and when we first met, and he was a really great guy. Oh, you teach up in the north? Oh, wonderful for you. Oh, you're pianist. All that stuff. I said, oh, would you like a coffee? Which is a wonderful thing. And the little boys come with a little tray, and they give you this, whether it's Turkish or Greek coffee, it's this, powerful espresso stuff.
Yeah.
A little shot of it in a little cup. And I just sometimes when I had the time, I'd go down there. Hey, Mr. Particines, I'd go shoot the breeze a little bit, and then I'd just disappear into the stacks.
Huh.
And it was so much fun. You know that when Harry Potter first is picked up by, what's his name, Mogrid? Mogrid.
Oh,
The big
Hagrid.
dude, Hagrid. And he takes him to Diagon Alley, right?
Diagon Alley, yeah.
And, oh, Diagon, that's right.
Diagon.
Because he said it wrong, he said diagonally, right?
Yeah, diagonally. Yeah.
No, but remember when he goes to the wand shop?
Yeah.
And the great actor John
Hurt?
Hurt.
Yeah.
And you just go in and there's all these little boxes.
Yeah.
And he's, this crazy professor kind of store owner guy.
Yeah.
Gets up on his ladder and he's looking for the kind of thing. This is the kind of feeling that Mr. Particini's shop was. It was dusty.
Yeah.
The smell of like in an old library, an old bookstore and stuff.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I wasn't filthy or anything.
Yeah.
They would go through it, but I'd be digging back. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I found some
Radiculology
wonderful
medicine
stuff.
with you.
The really cool thing is, I found, I forget what the edition is, but it's oversized.
Yeah.
Schubert.
Yeah.
1930s edition Schott, maybe.
Uh-huh.
Schott.
Yeah.
E-flat piano sonata. It's not a well known.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it had a price tag on it. In
Okay.
what did they use there? Greek, or whatever they put. Greek pounds. I think they had
Okay.
Cypriot pounds. Eventually converted to the euro, but it had a price on it in pounds.
Okay.
The music was from the 20s, and it was a big, extra large score.
Large scale, yeah.
For example, I
That'd be great.
found a lot of cool things from this place. I got some stuff in there.
Yeah.
I brought it up to him and I said, "Hey, Mr. Particines," I says, "I found this really wonderful copy of the Schubert E flat. How much would you charge me for it?" And he looked at the price tag on it, like the equivalent of 65 cents or something.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, it's on the music." I said, "But that's got to be decades old. When you stick that thing on there in the 50s?" And he said, No. He says, "That's fine."
That's fine. Really?
I paid him 65 cents for this at the time.
Oh, God.
80-year-old piece of music, but it's still pretty good shape,
Wow.
but oversized. And it's an old historically incorrect edition of Schubert, compared to newer stuff like Vita Vortex and things. But I found some various kinds of stuff. And what was really cool, of course, and he had modern editions.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the Mozart Bärenreiter, maybe, violin sonatas.
Oh.
I bought the hard books. Not the paper, but the actual hardback.
Bärenreiter has hardback?
I think it was Bärenreiter.
Wow.
I
pretty
think
cool.
it was Bärenreiter, but the violin sonatas of Mozart, I bought those from his place. So he had new stuff, too.
Yeah.
I forget what the really bright red ones are, like Schubert nowadays.
Yeah.
Then there's the Hungarian edition as well. But he had new stuff. But it was really interesting from a historical point of view to go digging and looking through things, because you'd find composers that might have been hot a half century before, but it just kind of,
This, oh, God.
fizzled out in people's minds or something.
Yeah.
And the music was there in the shelves.
Wow.
So it was cool because it was a little bit like going shopping, like going in a time machine
Yeah.
and going shopping in a store from the 30s.
Wow. So in a lot of ways, you were, like me, you were excavating.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well,
that's
and I
what it
did
felt
get a
like.
couple things from him that actually had little plastic sleeves.
Yeah.
And they were in there. And it's good that they were, because
Yeah.
they were a little flaky.
Yeah. You dare not bend some of
I
those
picked up
corners.
some cool stuff at his place.
Yeah.
I'm sure poor fella's passed by now. But if any of my Cypriot friends are watching or anything, go have a coffee and go down to South Nicosia. And let me know if Parthasidis is still open. And my music friends, you know what I'm talking about. I'd love to hear if Mr. Parthasidis' store is still open. I'd be surprised if he's still alive, although some of those Mediterranean people, wow, they live a long time.
Wow.
It's possible he could still be alive, but my guess is be it in his 90s anyway. Probably.
Yeah.
So,
Wow, that's quiet.
it was a wonderful store. He had everything like you'd have in a music store for other instruments and all that, but there was like music boxes and metronomes
Oh gosh.
and all kinds of stuff. And he was such a wonderful man. You know, there's always, I'll just briefly, but I played piano for a tango orchestra, and we were based in the north, but we went down south all the time, and the dancers and people from both the north and south get together. It was a wonderful international mixing, or for that matter, just separate, you know.
Yeah.
But, oh my gosh, sometimes you go and hit some folks, and they still remember the war like it happened yesterday.
Wow.
You know, oh my God. You know.
Something you want to let go.
But, you know, up in the north, especially, it was very interesting when I met the older people, the grandfathers and things like that. There was a lovely, well, maybe because of the age perhaps, a nostalgia for the way it had once been. One of my piano students, I'd really love to visit with her family, Bayraktars. And the grandpa, who I enjoyed speaking with, he's an interesting man. He was trilingual, perfectly trilingual.
Wow.
And he was Turkish, Cypriot, but he also spoke Greek and he spoke English because he'd worked for the British when they were the colonial administrators
Wow.
of the island. And I just heard stories from people about the mixed nature of the villages and everything like that. And it was sad. It's a sad history. I mean, any kind of civil war,
Yeah.
because, I mean, we had ours. The British had the War of Roses, right?
Yeah.
That was their war, right? That's perhaps the saddest kind, because your own people against each other. You
yeah.
know?
Well, it's
I mean, I got a fellow that sings in my course here, Bruce,
Yeah.
who knows his family. He has people that were living in Ohio and the people were living in the South. And he knows that in some cases, now they didn't apparently shoot at each other directly, but
Yeah.
he had ancestors who were fighting at some famous battles in the South, Vicksburg and stuff like that. And then Southern family that also were fighting for the Confederacy.
Wow.
Cousins against cousins, you know. And of course, as it would be true, I just saw some stuff recently. The largest number of casualties in any conflict the United States has ever been involved in,
Yeah.
the Civil War.
Yeah. Doesn't surprise me.
I mean, we were watching a documentary on Gettysburg
Oh gosh. Yeah.
in Pennsylvania, United States.
Yeah.
It was this very infamous battle. It was one that really changed everything. Lincoln went there and gave the Gettysburg Address. 60-some thousand,
Yeah.
I think,
That was something. That sounds about right.
on one
Battlefield. Yeah.
and went on for 3 days.
Yeah.
And they were still doing that old-fashioned kind of fight where you just, hey, ho, just marching right into fire.
Yeah.
Because most of them were still using musket-type guns. I mean, around the time of the Civil War and then thereafter, they started to get the, a real rifle. You know what rifling is? That's when they grind the inside of the barrel to create that kind of force that actually helps to speed up the bullet and also to improve the aim. because it kind of keeps it on point, you know. Still in the Civil War, they were still using rifles that were more like musket rifles.
Yeah.
And the problem, though, was instead of a pointed bullet, which would give you like a very specific hold, maybe. And this is a ball.
Yeah. It was a ball.
And
they were like that big.
Some of them were pretty big. It was a big bore.
Bigger than a marble.
Yeah.
That way.
And you get hit with something like that.
It's over. It's over.
I mean, the wounds, that was the problem because it would shatter bones.
It would shatter bones.
And get splintered and stuff.
Get exploded.
Yeah, sometimes.
I mean, just at the end.
Really, really, really bad. Anyway, what does that have to do with the Frederick
Yeah.
But anyway, hi to Mr. Particides, and thanks for the memories.
Yes.
I love it. Is it? I mean, are there places now?
They're like that?
Well, yeah, because I remember in the old days, I mean, the one in Springfield, there's some old music stores, and there's some old bookstores.
Yes.
Some of my stuff that I've got, I initially went to the bookstore.
Would you like to visit an old bookstore?
Like a really dusty old
bookstore, one that you would have to watch where you walk, and you'd be like this because this bookshelf's 10 feet high.
I love
this bookshelf is
like that.
10 feet high.
Yeah.
You want to go?
Yeah.
Okay, there's one on High Street. Just go down past Old Worthington, past Henderson, just go down. I mean, it's past all of that. And there used to be a used car lot right next to it. But I don't think the used car lot's there anymore. But it's a bookstore called Whitcliffe's.
I drive up and down High Street all the time. Never heard of it.
You never heard of it?
Whitcliffe's?
Whitcliffe's. Okay, yeah, it's called Whitcliffe's.
It's an old bookstore?
It's a very old bookstore. It's been there for years. Years. I'll tell you what.
I haven't been in one for a while.
Used to be nearby campus, okay? And then she moved. I remember the lady. She's still around, as a matter of fact. I saw her at the last book sale over at Upper Arlington. She's still around. She doesn't walk very well, but she's still around. She's just looking for certain kind of books, and she, and most of the book vendors who were there, they brought boxes and boxes and boxes, and they just filled them up, and they had to get a crane to carry all the boxes back to their van. She's not looking for that. She's just, basically, what she picked up wouldn't fill a shopping cart, basically. And so she just went there to look. But it is a bookstore. It's very old. It's dusty. So be sure to have your allergy medicine before you go.
Yeah.
Now, the fire marshal has been around had been around.
That got a lot of them into trouble, unfortunately.
Yeah. So, and they're threatening to close her down.
Well, we gotta go historically.
Yes, we gotta go. Okay.
It's a little bite of an older. I was listening yesterday on the radio when I was out and about. There was a story that they were doing on the radio about people were calling in and remembering. Bookstores and record stores. Yeah. In the old days.
Yeah. The record stores are coming back. They're back.
Yeah.
There's one on, I think there's on Summit or Indianola, nearby campus.
Yeah. Well, there's one on Indianola. Yeah.
There's one on Indianola? Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was Summit or Indianola.
One in Springfield called Bookhaven. It's down on Plum Street and back over in this area near the community swimming pool and Snyder Park.
Yeah.
And you go, it was really cool because I don't know what it was in the past, but it was high, brick, but it was dark. There was not really any windows except from the front. And then those were like all the way up and the door was glass. That was the only sunlight we got in there. And really high shelves. They didn't encourage, they actually didn't they put their stock up on the higher shelves. Yeah. They went up on the ladders and brought things down. But the cool part was you could come in, it was pretty deep, like like a big long rectangle, very high, and like basically two big aisles, stuff on either side. And then over here was this kind of a cubby area where there was the cash register, and there was a little not a bed, but like a little cot to lay down when they got tired, and I had a little tiny table and chair back there that I kept coffee or something. But then right next to it were the steps that went down.
Oh gosh!
Into the catacomb.
Oh jeez! Here we go.
Oh man, I love that. That's where I got a bunch of stuff from that store over the years that I went there. It was especially some of my earliest art books. The Jack Bilbo book. That was from there. And there were some names that would show up in the books from certain personal libraries who I recognized the owners. I got interested in German literature and some things like that. And I can't remember the guy's full name, but it was Carl something. And it was Karl. And a Germanic last name.
Wow.
It was so much fun. And this is before Amazon might have really gotten in the race and prices on things. Everybody knows what things are worth.
Yeah.
So you go to Amazon, you go to eBay, you can go here and there.
Yeah.
And they all want about the same price on everything. Now, this is back in the day when who the hell wants these old books?
Yeah.
You know? I love the German word for it. There's a Buchladen, a bookstore. Is a new publishing house. You know, lots of new stuff. But an Antiquariat.
Antique.
Like antique, yeah. But it specifically refers to bookstores. But like the wand shop in Harry Potter.
Oh!
That kind of thing.
Yeah. That's a great scene, by the way.
Anyway.
Awesome scene.
That was nice going back to the Wayback Machine.
Yes.
I'm eating up time talking.
Oh, that's okay.
Talking
That's okay. Anyways, this ends the segment of PSI, All Pieces Considered.
That was interesting.
Yes, it was very interesting. I love that part. But anyways, so did you want to show some things?
I just had a few things.
You just had a few things. You want to go into the next segment, which is, I don't know, are you playing Thrifter?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
That way I can give you something. My stuff would fit in that category.
Okay, cool. Well, all right.
Want to move on?
Well, let's do it.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Here we go. Hold on to your hats.
Hold on to your hats. We are
speaking about hats. Maybe I can find a Giphy one to put on you.
Okay.
I'll see if I can bring it hat.
I'll bring the hat.
I can maybe put one on you.
Good grief. Let's not do this again, Mark. Oh,
wouldn't that be fine?
I don't know.
Maybe get you one of those like World War I leather helmets.
Oh, jeez.
With
the goggles?
Yeah, with the goggles.
Get out of here. All right, folks. Let's go on. Let's move on. Once again, we're going to be doing some more adventure. We've been through some more adventures and excavating at the most exciting places and dustiest places you could possibly imagine.
Like Amazon Online.
Yes. So what? Exactly. What am I talking about? PSI, High Plains Thrifter. Yes. I think that's actually a voice.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think it'd be. Yeah. That's a whistle.
That's a whistle. And by the
It
way,
could be a harmonica. You could be right.
Was that stuff actually what they would call Italian-made westerns? Was it directed by Morricone
those
or people like that?
Morricone, Ennio Morricone. Yeah, some of them were. He was only one of several directors that did stuff like that. They're called spaghetti westerns.
Yeah,
and really, they're
actually pretty good. But
they're pretty good, and the characters really didn't have they had names, but also in a lot of ways it was just sort of a little bit senseless. They didn't have a story. They were just there.
It didn't need to be. It was just a Western.
It was just a Western.
That in and of itself was fun.
I've known some of them. I've known some of these movies where, let's get into a gunfight.
Yeah.
And so they just look for somebody at the bar to see who they can pick a fight with.
Yeah.
Or a couple of guys who are just bored. He says, well, I heard there's a train coming by. They're bringing money. You want to go rob it?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let's go rob it. He says, you got a horse?
Well, this is like some real shitty Mexican dudes coming.
Yeah.
Let's go kill them!
Says, you got a horse? No.
Isn't far.
Well, let's go steal them.
But, we talked about this in a show or two previous.
Yeah.
After the Second World War, for a period of time, there was a serious communist movement in Italy. And come on, Italy has had 50-some different governments since then. I mean, my God. Now they're on the rightist side of things. There's that little tiny lady who's president now. She's a bit on the right of things. Things have been more or less like. But anyway, the United States was extremely concerned with the Iron Curtain and all that stuff about Italy falling into communist hands. Because that would have put the communists on the Mediterranean, for one thing. Yeah. And right next to France and all kinds of stuff. So it's interesting how they did it. I know that there was some high government things that went on. But the CIA actually was responsible for helping to funnel money into Italy to support their
doesn't surprise me.
Programs.
Yeah.
So, and the things that maybe you guys don't realize now, but come on, if you look at American TV history and go back to the 50s, for that matter, go back to the radio days. Yeah. Lone Ranger, Gunsmoke, Cannon. Cannon.
George, what's his face? Yeah.
He was the original Gunsmoke guy. He played Matt Dillon in
did?
the radio. He was the voice for Matt Dillon in the radio show.
The Cannon guy.
Yeah.
The cop.
Frank, what's his name, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that was his character.
Yeah, but it was George somebody, wasn't it?
I don't know, but there's a famous 70s detective show. He drove a Mercury Marquis, remember? Yeah. Big man's car.
Oh, yeah, he's a big guy.
Big boy. I mean, I think I'm compact compared to him. Yeah. Let's hope so. But he apparently was always kind of a big boy.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Oh, he has that wonderful, rich, bassy voice.
He's got that mustache.
He played Matt Dillon on the radio.
Huh.
But when it came time for it to be a TV show,
he couldn't do it. They took that other guy.
He's a little too roly-poly.
Yeah.
But anyway, if you look at the history of American, especially TV entertainment and the radio stuff too, it's an American romanticism thing. I know for a fact that the Germans are crazy about it as well. But the Wild West, the Great Western stories, of America spreading into the cowboys.
I would imagine it has a lot to do. I think it was more of a curiosity, really, much like the gotcha enigma. Yeah. I mean, nobody knows what Wild West was like here in America. They had to be here. Yeah. So instead, they made movies, spaghetti westerns, Ennio Morricone.
Well, there's something very romantic about it because the idea, to some extent, in the mind is you got a gun on you. You got a bottle of whiskey, and the world is yours. Yeah, it's about freedom. It's a great testament to freedom. Maybe freedom out of control, but I don't know. There was a massive appetite. If you just look, my God, I mean, look at all the movies that Mr. Cowboy and Western.
Clint Eastwood, John Wayne,
John Wayne.
Okay.
Well, I mean, he did different characters, but come on, John Wayne is everybody's idea of the great American cowboy. Oh,
yeah, absolutely.
Rooster Cogburn and all this stuff right up to the end. There's a huge market and appetite for westerns.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I remember watching them all the time.
They just said, look, we can guarantee this stuff's going to get into the movie houses. Also, it made it possible for Hollywood to throw the minor league stuff to somebody else who could do it, and they would do a good job.
Yeah.
It would be a lot cheaper.
Oh yeah.
Made outside the United States, away from the unions, and so
And they didn't have to pay the actors as much.
Italy became a really huge manufacturer of really decent, what they called spaghetti westerns. And they had wonderfully well-trained composers. Maestro Siciliani, he talks about
He does?
some of the music he liked. Some of
The maestro did?
back in the days.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
he can sing some of it, whistle and things. And he liked, because there was a lot of famous pieces that were written. Actually, the music a lot of times for those movies was written by Italian composers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So, we got way off there.
I know. How did we get here?
But and then Clint Eastwood in his earliest times,
Oh yeah.
he was a cowboy actor.
He was a cowboy.
His earliest roles, he was, I don't know. There was a TV show that he was on for a while earlier on,
Yeah.
right?
Well.
When he was young.
Yeah. His screen debut actually only lasted something like a minute.
That's right.
He played.
Yes,
He
that's
played
right.
He played a fighter pilot, and he was. The movie was actually a horror movie. It was called Invasion of the Giant Spider or something like that. The spider comes crawling out in the desert like this, and Mission Control says, "Do you have the enemy at sight?" He says, "Yes, I do." He says, "I have the enemy in sight." He says, "Shall I engage?" He says, "Execute the monster." And he shoots off a missile. The spider blows up, and you see them going like that. And so at the end, the thing's like this on the ground on its back, and it's over. And that was his debut, was being that pilot that killed the giant spider. So
anyway, we got off there, but
Yeah,
we're doing High Plains Thrifters.
yeah, we were doing High Plains Thrifter.
Okay.
We talked about spaghetti western, but anyways, you got some stuff here.
Well, I wanted to give this back to you.
Oh yeah.
This is your Villalobos.
Uh-huh.
Villalobos, probably. Villalobos? No, it's Spanish.
How do you pronounce the first name? Hitor? Hitor?
Heitor.
Heitor.
Heitor Villalobos.
Heitor Villalobos.
And I looked this guy up. Well, I put some more information about him on the last show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Bondilia? What's his name?
Ophelia. Remember, because we were talking about non-traditional artists who, like, how do they pass along there?
Yeah.
Well, he ended up doing quite a bit of educational work. He founded something called the Grand Canyon Festival, and he and his wife ran it for decades.
Out in Arizona.
Yeah.
Wow. That's cool.
Anyway, that was nice. Thank you.
Sure.
It was interesting listening to it. Guys, wonderful artist.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow.
Harmonica.
If you ever heard that kind of music, played by a great harmonica player, actually, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
He has a beautiful, soaring pianissimo
Yeah.
closer note on a few pieces, just like floats up there. It's like some famous, what was her name? She did a Tosca. Who's the great black singer?
There's Kathleen Bell. There's Leontine
Farther
Price.
back, for Leontine Price. I think it was Leontine Price I'm thinking of.
Okay.
Just floats this pianissimo up there. It's just like heaven. But he did stuff like this. This guy was a heck of an artist.
Oh yeah. So what do you have here?
So I've got a few more things that are coming, but this one came. I think I got this from England through eBay, I think. Could have been Amazon. But this is Nimbus Records. Remember we talked about them with Tchaikovsky?
Yeah.
So what Nimbus was famous for, they bought that massive old British palatial home. And it's got gorgeous wood and everything in it and stuff. And they had a big hall.
Yeah.
Very resonant, very lovely. Just a really good sound. They put a concert grand piano in there and stuff.
Wow, cool.
So Tchaikovsky recorded all of, I think, 8 albums on it. And now I know that they moved into other areas eventually. They did rock music and jazz and things like that. But the classical stuff was interesting because what they were trying to do was with the present day technology at the time, which was, let's say, 80s and 90s, which
Yeah.
was good because we're getting into CDs and triple D digital kind of stuff
Yeah.
possibilities. Nonetheless, what they were trying to do was to create recordings which were a lot like the very first ones made in the 78 days.
Mhm.
Because the cool thing is, in the 78 days, you sat in front of this massive horn. It was the size of a wall, this huge
Yeah.
horn, and you did your music making, and it went in there, and this little metal needle, it still is magical somehow.
Hmm.
It converts all of the music and interprets it some way that it engraves it into a metal disc, which becomes a recording.
Wow.
You had like 4.5 minutes
Mhm.
maximum on the side where you could do it. And then they would take the metal disc and make vinyl copies of it. And then put those on metal discs in the middle. That's why they're so heavy,
Hmm.
old 78s. So they finally made them all plastic.
Wow. Cool.
But there was no editing. It just, that's what you got. You got
Yeah,
what
exactly.
happened, right? Because they really couldn't control it very much in terms of
Yeah.
what was coming out the other end. That started to become really possible with magnetic tape,
Mhm.
which was developed in Nazi Germany, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe before that.
Yeah.
But that became more available immediately after the Second World War. And so, historically, in the recording media stuff, John Cage, for example, was one person, a lot of the brothers, got interested in tape because there were things that you could do with it, that was really quite new in terms of possibilities. Anyway, Nimbus wanted to set up a recording environment which more or less eliminated a lot of editing, so that it was as much what the artist, there was as little between you and the artist as possible.
Right.
And they particularly liked to hire certain kinds of players, like Tchaikovsky, who famously was a lot like they said about Bano Mojseyevich when he did those
Yeah.
recordings in London.
Yeah.
There's not that many of the solo things, but there's a CD or two,
Yeah.
some Chopin etudes and
Yeah.
various things.
Yeah.
Apparently, for 2 days, he came in the afternoon, off of the London streets,
Yeah.
and it was wintertime or coolish, and he had his big storm coat on and his
Yeah.
bowler hat, big cigar, and he put his coat over the chair, put his hat in the seat, put his cigar in the ashtray, and then he went over to the piano, warmed up a little bit, and then they started to cut things. 1, maybe 2 takes.
Yeah.
He was done in an hour and a half. They said, though, the one time, maybe it was the second day,
Yeah.
he went in, did his recording, he got £5,000 per day for it.
Jeez.
10,000 pounds in 2 days. It must have been the second day he came in. He picked up his cigar out of the ashtray and it was still burning. They gave him his money, put on his hat and his coat, and walked out into London, and that was the creation of these recordings.
Oh, that would be so nice.
Tchaikovsky went into this palatial home, apparently, and if I understand what I think I read one time, they put the machine in there, so you would just poke the button, go sit down,
And just play.
and play. And then if you wanted to do it again, play it again. Apparently he would never do probably more than 2, maybe a third take.
Third take.
And he controlled himself, and then they come and they take all the stuff. He'd tell them, I want this one, I want that one, this is what I want. And they print the stuff. Well, they started then to use their techniques. Now, the new guy, is it James Marston?
Yep.
Marston Records, who he introduced me to a while back. Have you seen any of their stuff yet? Did you get the email?
I did get the
Yeah.
email, but
That's interesting. I don't think I'm in a position
I know
to be
either one. I outbid some of those
Actually,
other
correct.
people. Gosh.
But James Marston and his partner now are I think, world leaders right now in reproducing
Yeah.
the really old, lost in many
Yeah,
cases
exactly.
recordings, unknown, or cleaning them up and stuff,
Yeah.
and doing these amazing things nowadays of bringing these great artists from way back.
Check them out. Check them out.
Marston,
Yes,
Marston.
They also have a YouTube channel. Check it out.
Actually, Pearl, wasn't it called Pearl Records. They
There's
would go
Pearl,
way back.
there's Opal.
Opal, and then there was Nimbus. This is Ignacy Paderewski,
Wow.
and a lot of his kind of rather famous repertoire.
Here's a guy we need to look into. Ignacy Jan Paderewski.
So they would. This is basically their reproduction of cleaning up his recordings from the time,
Yeah.
and making them as good as their product wanted things to be.
Oh,
Good stuff, huh?
they've got shelling in here.
Yeah.
Wow. Boy, that's going to be something.
Everything else is what you might know of as.
Yeah.
There's a couple Hungarian Rhapsodies, La Campanella,
Yeah.
some different things like that. So that I think I bought on eBay, and I found it was a good price. It was, I believe, with the shipping, which is $3.99. I got it for $8 or $9.
Not bad.
You know, and it's a beautiful shape.
It is. It's
You know, it's really cool
Brand
shape.
very nice.
Then I bought. Thank you.
Sure.
I bought a copy of this for myself.
Yeah.
I got this book about Charles Tomlinson Griffiths.
Yeah.
You know, I knew his stuff before.
Yep.
And I enjoyed it. And you know, there was a pianist, Solon Pierce. I've mentioned him, and I put his picture and his album up in the past. He was from outside Madison, Wisconsin. I don't know if he's from Malhorb or specifically where he's from, but a very close neighbor to Gunnar Johansson, famous Danish pianist out there. They knew one another. Solon was always a very impassioned, special kind of young man. Very, very focused on what he was doing. And he had a somewhat interesting taste. He liked Charles Alkan.
Whoa.
Charles Alkan.
Yeah.
And played his stuff.
Jeez.
And I remember him before he studied with Howard Karp for a while. But he was a bit of a... His personality was perhaps a little too, I don't know, eccentric and not submissive enough maybe for Howard. And I'm not saying Howard was a big control freak by any means, but he came from a certain tradition. He studied Rosina Levine.
Yeah.
And had a certain way of
Doing things.
in a kind of Juilliard kind of way.
Yeah.
Interestingly, Solon went to Juilliard. He got his bachelor's degree, I believe, from there. But I remembered when he was still studying with Howard before he left, he played Scriabin Fifth Sonata. He was an undergrad, you know, and he was really into that. But I also remember he also studied with my teacher Ellsworth, which is I think how I met him. And then somehow he was with Howard for a while, or I don't know. He kind of bounced around, and he was also, I think he may have took some lessons from Gunnar privately out there in Malhoror, but he liked Griffiths, and that was some of the first time I ever heard Griffiths. And that was when I immediately heard it. I said, he's like a Russian Scriabin, or American Scriabin, you know. Eventually, he went to Juilliard, and I think he's done relatively well. He's got some recordings out. He did, I don't know if it's probably complete works, but there's at least an album or two of Gunnar Johansson's own compositions that he did. And then I think he got some other stuff out. But I'm intrigued with Griffiths. I mean, I'd say I've always been like this. I've been curious sometimes about odd composers, and
You got bit by the bug.
at some point in my life, I became quite interested in 19th century composers who I thought deserved more attention and kind of fell by the wayside because of the big boys. You know, the pantheon or the legacy of certain things you have to know. And then I became especially interested, and I've got a collection of things together of music by pianist composers.
Mhm.
So, like Joseph Hoffman, Osip Gabrilovich.
Oh,
I mean,
okay, yeah.
some of these great concert pianists who then
Yeah.
wrote their own pieces.
Yeah.
They're quite good. Moritz Rosenthal,
Yeah.
Papillon,
Elmer Cabotage.
Elmer Cabotage, so his stuff in there. But I got the book, and I'm just really curious about the guy. And just in general, this is advanced stuff. I mean, once in a while you might find something that's potentially advanced intermediate.
Yeah.
But this goes quite a ways beyond Edward McDowell in that sense. And you can see
it has a maturity.
Debussy and Scriabin.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say late Scriabin because he died a bit prematurely. He probably would have gone that way.
Oh, I'm sure he would have. Probably more.
It's very atmospheric. And frankly, just reading through it, just looking at it, and then when you play some of it, he was a very excellent composer.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, a lot of amazing control. And in terms of what he was doing, where he was looking, I would say, wouldn't you, for the time that he was alive, because he crisscrossed with McDowell.
Oh, yes, he did.
And then there was a guy's named William Mason, who was a stupidist,
Yeah.
wrote certain kinds of things, and then there was Mrs. Beach, late 19th century, who wrote very listing kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's because of the time he spent in Europe. What's
I'm
interesting
sure it
about
is.
Griffiths, I think he's bringing back the cutting edge kind of stuff that the Europeans were beginning to do.
Oh, yeah. Of course they.
And America in general was still, well, let's put it this way. People were still hanging their tiles out. I was a student of France last. That was a big deal.
Yeah.
You go take a lesson with us. I studied with France last.
Yeah.
And then there were a lot of his pupils that moved to the United States.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to me how many times I see Rudolph Gans.
Yes. Yeah.
All over the place. That guy had all kinds of attributions to him.
Yeah.
And Friedheim.
Friedheim.
Arthur Friedheim, I think so.
Yeah, as a Franz Liszt dude.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Rudolph Gans was, but
No.
I mean that kind of European movement. I mean, a lot of it. Hoffman and Godowsky, they all moved to the United States and kind of brought. Rachmaninoff was here, all Europeans and stuff. But for this time, which is pre-World War I, I'm not thinking of any American composers otherwise who were doing this.
Oh, no, they weren't.
Right? I mean, soon enough, I mean, this is what, a couple decades later, Lucas Foss starts to maybe have some things, or maybe it's even longer than that. Well, I think what happened is, for example, Aaron Copland went and studied with Boulanger in Paris.
Yes, she did.
And I think he probably, I don't know, he wasn't the first one, but a lot of guys went to France and studied or were influenced by Boulanger.
Mm-hmm.
And not just from here, but all over the world. Piazzolla. With it. And what she was really great about was she had these people coming to Paris, coming to France, wanting to study with her. She was like Fontainebleau. She was the person to study with. My own piano teacher, Dr. Wynn, went and studied with her for a while at Fontainebleau in Paris. But what she was good about with the Americans came, so this is true of Piazzolla and Copland. Copland started out interestingly. He was writing some serious serial music. His earliest stuff is Schoenbergian, right? Which was like one of the big schools that influenced things at the time. Of course, Ives was doing similar sounding stuff, but in my argument, as I've already attested to the last show and then before that everything else, I think Ives is a late romanticist who's just exploring the potential breakdown of chromaticism on his own.
Yeah, Copland's first piece he brought to Boulanger was the Passacaglia.
Yeah. Well, she started to encourage him to explore American music. You know,
Yes.
one of the things is like the folk influences on the culture.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Piazzolla, because he came, and he was also writing serial type.
Yeah, exactly, he was, yeah.
And God love her. I mean, she's somebody that we should maybe do a special on, Boulanger.
Oh,
We haven't ever done
We've
right?
never done Nadia
But
Boulanger.
her influence
Or even
on
her sister.
20th century music,
Her sister, Lily.
Lily Boulanger, she was a composer.
Yeah.
So was Nadia, but
Yeah.
she was more a teacher, recognized.
Yeah.
But her influence on 20th century music and composition around the world
It can't be ignored.
is amazing.
Yeah.
Because she's the one, she said, asked the Piazzolla, he brought in his stuff, she says, so what is the music like down there where you're from, you know? Do you play an instrument? Because I think he played piano.
He did.
She said, do you play anything else? Well, bandoneon, what's that? And he had one.
Yeah.
He brought it with him, she said, you should do that.
Yeah.
The bandoneon is this huge thing. It's like an accordion, but
And we were talking about
stretch about. I put a picture
harmonica
of it.
here. The
And harmonica
bandoneon
as
as
well.
well. Interesting. They could see
And
the
then-
traditions of
And then
that.
with Copeland, after he studied with her, first it was jazz. There's the piano concerto.
Yeah.
It was a very jazz influence. She said, well, Ravel's already using your music.
Exactly.
Why don't you look at your own cultural
Yeah.
music there? So he started to look at jazz.
Yeah.
And then I think, for me, I'm so grateful for him, he got into just genuine American folk music. And one of my favorite pieces, I cry, even when I think about it, but I cry every time I hear a good performance of it, is Appalachian Spring.
Yeah.
And it's got shaker into
Yeah.
They're good to be simple. I don't remember the words, but it's a wonderful idea. But then, and you know, it's interesting because that music was often written for ballets.
Yeah.
He wrote El Salón Mexico,
Yeah.
so he started to look at Hispanic stuff from the southwestern United States and everything. Rodeo was wonderful. Yeah, beautiful performances. I don't always think Copeland is the best interpreter of his music when he's conducting.
Yeah.
I tell you who I love, Bernstein.
Bernstein. I was going to say.
Bernstein would just,
He understands it
he'd
well.
turn the juice up with Copeland's
Oh,
music,
yeah.
you know. There's some magnificent performances.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Those
have
old
you heard
Columbia
his
records.
Hoedown? Have you heard Bernstein's Hoedown?
No, his music?
No, it's Copeland's Hoedown. It's the movement from the rodeo.
Oh, yeah, for
Hoedown.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's Bernstein.
And then,
Oh,
you know,
gosh.
in Bernstein, New York Philharmonic,
Yeah.
when I heard some of this live stuff, I mean, I don't know how it happened, but New York Philharmonic never caught on worldwide. In terms of the Europeans, it's like one of the great American orchestras.
Yeah.
But you hear those guys play it.
Mhm.
You know? I mean, as I'd said a while back, Cleveland Orchestra is apparently the favorite
Oh, yeah.
American orchestra in Europe. Boston's been having some serious trouble
Yeah.
lately. Chicago's really
Sad.
quite good too.
LA was supposed to be good too.
Oh, with Gustav Dudamel, it's amazing
Yeah.
performances. And more recently, Manfred.
Yeah.
Is it Hohner? The Austrian guy is directing Pittsburgh.
Oh, that guy. I know you.
Some Honeck,
Yeah.
Manfred Honeck. He took him to Europe, and they had quite a.
They did?
Yeah, people.
Wow. That's good.
People really liked him. Well, anyway, we got, of course, way off, but that's the book I bought about Griffiths. It's got the white peacock down the side.
You know, an observation I just noticed about this. Have you ever tried the first one, Lake at Evening?
No.
No?
It looks wonderful, though. I love
Yeah.
the effect it has. It seems very.
Let's see what you're going to say.
Did you see?
No?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I would like to know how much influence did Ravel's Le Gibet
Yes.
from
Yeah, that's
Gaspard
it.
de la
That's
Nuit
it. That's
had
it.
on
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. It just has this eerie.
This has that tolling
ostinato. Bum
bum,
bum
bum,
bum bum bum.
bum, bum. But Ravel's has the B flat.
Yeah.
Dum, 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 was supposed to be a distant tolling bell somewhere in the distance.
This is very evocative, this first piece.
Yeah,
I was thinking of actually learning that one.
Oh, it's a beautiful work. It's wonderful.
You performed it?
I've never performed it, but I've dabbled with it.
What, have you performed any Griffiths?
Have I performed it? The Scherzo?
I played,
The Scherzo.
I played the
Sweet.
White Peacock unofficially.
Yeah.
When I was in Madison, I learned it, and I played it for
Yeah.
one of the Friday New Musicals when I was studying with Ellsworth.
You should try this passage. This passage.
Oh, the Scherzo,
Or
was
from the
it?
Scherzo.
Yeah. I was those three pieces that he wrote?
Yeah.
What's
this
he call
passage. He calls the first one the Bark Roll, and then there's a Nocturne,
But as a group, what
and
are
a
they
Scherzo.
called?
It's just called Sweet.
Sweet?
Yeah, it's just a Sweet.
It's very interesting stuff, people.
Yeah.
Let
me see if we find the beginning. That's Bark
Would
Roll.
you? So I would say, well, let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Ives to me comes across as very American because, of course, he does a lot of quotations.
Who does?
Ives.
Ives. Yeah, of course he does. Yeah, I was right.
I would
Bark
say
Roll.
perhaps Griffiths.
Oh, fantasy pieces.
Griffiths. I would say Griffiths doesn't come across as American music. I think it's European music written by an American. You know what I mean? That there's no that I know of.
American in Europe.
There's no
Yeah.
American idiomatic kind of things, or just pure quotations from American music, like Ives does. You know, just these tiny little moments of it. Just
Try
in a
this.
moment, he'll like do a bar and a half, and you'll immediately hear this common hymn tune. You know, in the
Yeah.
string quartet, or something like that.
The sonata is something different, though.
I would say that
sonata-
there's music which has, one might say, kind of an international quality that doesn't really embrace any particular national color or sound. I mean, Copeland very clearly.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, he's a guy that as an American, when I hear some of his music, it makes me feel very sentimental and very happy, you know, and of course some of the stuff that he wrote about, you long for certain days of innocence, and unfortunately I would say it's not good for the world in general when Americans become cynical, the U.S. becomes cynical, because people always look to us to be the optimists, the dreamers.
Yeah.
And that's supposed to be, to some extent, ideally what people think about what our culture's about.
That dedicated Rudolph Gumbs.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to, for example. But then you hear Suna, come on, you can't listen to almost any piazzolla. Part of it's because if he's got a bandoneon in it, without hearing Argentine music.
Oh, yeah.
And Hector Villalobos, just come on, it's there.
Yeah.
Especially because with those kind of composers, you start to get the rhythm stuff
Oh, yeah.
mixed in, which is very unique to those different cultures. Oh, I meant to turn that off. I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Anyway, so yeah, I got that,
It's beautiful.
and I'm looking forward to actually trying some things out in it. Maybe I should, since I learned it at one time, I should dredge up the, they call it White Peacock.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been wanting to do this.
And-
Maybe I'll order it.
Then I got this book, which,
Beautiful book.
yeah, thanks. I got this one. We talked about it after the show.
Oh, yeah, we did.
Because this came, I think, while
We were
doing
talking.
the last show. This is very interesting stuff. These are the complete piano etudes of Philip Glass.
Yes.
I talked about him. Well, I think I talked a little bit about him last week on the show.
you did.
He was, Philip Glass, of course, has written so much music. My God, he's so prolific a composer. Oh my God, how many operas has he written in this day and age alone?
Yeah.
But he also had quite a busy career performing,
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you have.
and he was on the road, doing stuff, and he felt the more that he did it, he had to really keep himself in good performing shape. He's really good if he had a lot. And he became interested. Well, he was playing some etudes and stuff to warm up when he was, on his tours. But then he started getting interested in writing his own. And it's interesting, he said the two greatest influences for him were the Chopin Etudes and the Dornani piano
Exercises.
There is a performance I'd highly recommend.
Yeah.
Of Vikingur Olofsson. It's an official Deutsche Grammophon video on YouTube. You can watch it for free. Of the fifth etude. It's beautiful.
Oh, of course it is.
And Olofsson plays it. He just creates
atmosphere,
an ambience moment with the music. You know, it's interesting with his. I haven't heard everything he's done. I think what I admire about him is he brings great clarity to his voicing when he plays. He's got good right fingers and good left fingers.
Oh yeah.
And I think he has a very modern kind of technique and approach, which is extremely clear. I mean, I would say tactily, didactically, very clear playing. So I wouldn't put him anywhere close to Yun Chun Lim or Ignaz Friedman in terms of that kind of magical color and subtlety kind of nuance stuff. But wasn't he the one, wasn't it Olofsson and Odsnes, who are both recording Mozart piano concerti and directing the orchestras themselves?
Yes.
And
yes.
They both were. Sent it to you. There was a review.
Yeah.
And they were considering both of them. Both of them are fine musicians.
Oh yeah, they're wonderful.
Anyway, the fifth etude performed by Olofsson is
stunning.
It really is beautiful. And that's the first one I'm going to start because I just want to see, but they're actually really quite interesting. As etudes, essentially the idea of an etude is, what is an etude? It's a study, but what does it do? It's usually one particular
aspect,
technically challenging idea, which you do over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
And in the hands of a great person like Chopin, and one should certainly say with a programmatic talent like Liszt, they become something entirely. They become a piece of music that you don't mind listening to in a concert.
Yeah.
Where you don't hear Czerny etudes
not often
played in concert.
Not often.
Very often.
But we can revisit that.
No, there are some good things.
There's some,
especially in the figure dexterity.
Figure dexterity, yes. Joseph Levine used to use that 1 and A flat that had the octave arpeggios coming down like this.
Yes.
He used to use that as an encore at the end of his recitals.
Well, doesn't Horowitz have something of Czerny that he recorded way back in
the Ricordanza, the variations.
Of Czerny, right?
Yeah, Czerny. He says, in an interview with David Duvall asked him, so you had to pick one recording you'd like to be remembered for, what would it be? He says, he picked up his own T, he says, Ricordanza by Charles Czerny. Ricordanza. He wants to be remembered for that particular work, and very good reason for that. Have you heard the recording? You have to listen to the recording. It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, he does a few Horowitz touches here and there, added, to add a little bit more to the effectiveness, but.
So in the light of education, in terms of educators, and what we're doing in our show is to some extent, we're sharing our passion, but we're both educated-minded guys. We love studying this stuff, and we love teaching it, right? And talking about it, spreading the gospel.
Yes, I'm more of a mad scientist about this.
So we talked about maybe thinking about doing Nadia Boulanger, thing about
Nadia Boulanger.
I think we should do a thing about Carl Czerny.
Carl Czerny.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, he's been allowed to kind of slip through the covers.
Yeah.
Because, in my opinion, no offense against all of you music publishers who are out there creating all kinds of one book after the next in the same grade level, in the same series, all this kind of stuff, which I think is too often about making money and not about quality. And I'm an old-fashioned piano teacher. Czerny was good for several generations coming up to me, and I think it's still good for people.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Ellsworth, when he was refashioning my technique, took me back to the 5-finger exercises to learn rotation and horizontal movement, moving the arm to support the 4th and 5th fingers and such, and playing slowly and carefully, and then getting them to a point where they just have this fluid motion. And they're wonderful little pieces because in some cases just and when I'm in really good shape and I get those things out, I play. I get the art of finger dexterity or school of velocity.
School of velocity is another one. Yeah.
I don't know. I'll play several of them. At least half a dozen or something, and just whiz them off. Yeah. And in those moments, I feel like I'm almost as good as Ignaz Friedman.
Oh,
come on! I mean, I can play them with such lightness.
Have you ever looked at the Czerny book called "The School of Virtuosity"?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried any of
I've got all of it.
Oh God!
And if what I don't have actually in hard print, it's all available in IMSLP. You can print anything out of his. Yeah. But maybe we should.
I'll put it on the list
because he's in this day and age.
Yeah.
I mean, back like when my parents were studying, I studied Czerny. Yeah. I have a book of the little exercises that belong to my mother. Yeah. And there's every once in a while there's cut your nails. Yeah. The teacher wrote the music.
Well, not very many people know this, but Carl Czerny premiered the Emperor Concerto.
Yes.
He was the first guy, number one.
And he was played forehand with Beethoven sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
They were very close to each other.
Oh, yeah.
There's the famous story where some aristocratic guy comes into the room after they've already started to play, coming in from the back through the doors, and he's going to, of course, take his position at the front. He comes late. He's talking. And a normal thing. Hello, Jonathan. Completely ignoring what's going on.
Yeah.
Beethoven and Czerny, as a teenager, are at the piano. Beethoven takes his hands off and quits playing. Yeah. And he takes Czerny's hands off, puts them in his lap, and quits playing. And they sit like this, all of a sudden, in the middle of the music. And the aristocratic guy realizes, as he's coming up to the front of the room, he said, "Why did you stop playing?" And Beethoven says, "Well, when His Excellence speaks, then all others must be silent." But the way he said it,
yes, I would imagine.
I mean, only Beethoven could.
How would you say that in German? How would you say that in German? Because were they speaking in German?
Sure.
How would you say that in German?
Let's see.
It's different.
It's a possibility, but wenn seine Exzellenz spricht, dann sollen alle ruhig sein.
Oh, God.
Then everybody should be quiet.
Can you say
it more poetically, probably.
Say it the way Beethoven probably would have said it.
Oh, you mean that's just...
Yeah, with the accent and all.
Wenn seine Exzellenz spricht, dann muss alle anderen ruhig sein. But he said it in such a way that it was impolite. Brusque.
I would imagine it was.
And
in German.
And the guy was befuddled and obviously pissed off, but didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Sat down in his chair. And then he says, apparently, by all means, please continue. And so Beethoven nods his head to him and he said, "We'll start from the beginning." And then he started again.
That's awesome.
But that was Czerny who was with him. And that's how we know the story.
Yes,
because it's from Czerny.
Yeah.
He's the one who told the story. Because he spent a lot of time with him. And it's extraordinary, the guy. I have to say a little bit, shut up, but he apparently, the way he wrote these things down, he'd have several of them going at one point. He had them all laid out on a table. And he would just add some more bars to them in passing, things like that.
Mhm.
I think he was brilliant.
Oh, of course he was.
And he was Franz Liszt's first important teacher.
Exactly.
And this is how Franz Liszt met Beethoven.
Yeah.
When he was an old guy and Liszt was very young. But it was through Czerny.
Yes.
He was in Vienna. He was the pianist, the piano teacher, and everything to deal with. Premieres the Emperor Concerto.
Yeah.
That's how big a
Very
guy this guy
important.
was.
Yeah. And the Transcendental Etudes are dedicated to him.
It's called Czerny.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, if you've ever read some of his journal entries about how he met some of these people, particularly Franz Liszt, it's amazing. He says he listens to young Franz Liszt play, and at this point he was still a boy. He was still a boy, and he says the young man did everything wrong. Bad fingering, bad technique, but it was obvious that Mother Nature had given birth to a real pianist.
Uh-huh.
It was Mother Nature.
Uh-huh.
And so, from then on, it was all...
Well, because before he came to Vienna, he was from Riding.
Yeah.
Which is some sheep town out
Yeah,
in Hungary. Yeah. And he was taught by his father.
It was taught by his father.
Yeah, it was professional musician of some sort.
He exploited him all throughout Europe.
As a child prodigy.
Yeah. And really, I think he was probably the greatest child prodigy of his time since Mozart. He probably was.
You know what I learned years ago? I mean, Mozart was extraordinary, but when you look at what Mendelssohn
is another one.
Like at the age of 12?
Yeah.
String quartets and some symphonies, some
stuff.
Oh, yeah,
even younger than that.
Now, of course, his style for being a quote-unquote romantic is very classical.
Classically,
the structure and the stuff.
Counterpoint and everything.
I mean, there's a lot of Beethovenian influence in there.
Oh, yeah.
But
look at the sonata.
Isn't the Italian symphony the fourth, right?
Yes.
He was 16.
Yeah.
16 years old.
Yeah.
And what is always amazing to me about Mendelssohn,
But Erotic Capriccio
we hear about
14. Or Midsummer Night's Dream at 13. Huh?
Oh. I mean, he was very well educated.
Oh, yeah.
From a wealthy Berlin Jewish family.
Yeah.
His grandfather was Moses Mendelssohn. I wonder, I mean, he would have had good training in mathematics.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But what was interesting about the guy, I see pictures of him. He was such a dapper dresser and everything. He made quite an impression on the British. I mean, there was Handel, and then some of the Bach sons, one of them especially, Christian, who also met Mozart.
Mm-hmm.
They met each other in London. And then for a period of time, Mendelssohn was there. And he wrote Elijah for the British, things like that. But the thing is, with him, he was always such a dapper. And it just like, you get the impression, everything about him was, really clean lines and clear and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have you ever seen any of his paintings? He studied painting in Italy.
I didn't know that.
Take a look at some paintings. You can find them online.
Okay.
Done by Felix Mendelssohn.
Huh.
They're really good.
Really?
I mean, really amazing control of form and structure and stuff. And what do you call it, perspective?
Yeah.
Things in the painting. They're typical of the time, early romantic kind of stuff. It was, important. He was conductor of Leipzig.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the really first important one in the 19th century. And his concertmaster was Hugh Brahms. Joachim. Who I think premiered the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto.
Yeah.
I think. And he was the first one to do was at Bach's St. John or St. Matthew?
No, I believe it was St. Matthew.
Passion.
Yeah, the Passion.
In 1839 or
something like that. Yeah, he was it.
Yeah, they were.
There's a story behind that.
The Schumann was helpful with finding stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be the one to conduct it, but his conducting skills were not up to
Yeah.
par, and so they gave that position responsibility to Mendelssohn. Who
But they were the ones who, at that period in the
Yeah.
19th century, kind of rediscovered Johann Sebastian Bach. In Beethoven's time, Beethoven said that the greatest composer, period, ever, in his mind, or at the time especially, was Bach.
Bach, yeah.
But he was not talking about Johann Sebastian.
Is that what, Carl Philipp?
Carl Philipp Emanuel.
Bach. Yeah.
Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach had a huge influence, like on the whole Sturm und Drang period of Haydn's composition. This is all due to Carl Philipp Emanuel. There's a whole bunch of sonatas he wrote, the Composition sonatas and stuff.
Yeah.
They're really very interesting works. Marc Elmer recorded
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I mean, I've played some of them in the past.
They're not easy.
They're very interesting because they're not simple.
Yeah.
And what's more difficult about them is there's definitely more in the music than is obviously on the page.
Exactly.
You have to be really, the whole word, Empfindsamkeit, which means a heightened sense of sensitivity.
Yeah.
This is a word that comes from that period. And there's a period in Haydn's long compositional life called Sturm und Drang, storm and stress.
Yes.
And this was all from this poetic period of the 1770s.
Something like that.
About the time Beethoven was born.
Yeah.
And then for about 10 or 15 years in terms of Haydn's compositions. Basically 1770, 1790.
Yeah.
It was a relatively shortish period, but it was in art, literature, and music.
Yeah.
And Philipp Emanuel in Hamburg was the great representative of that stuff. But Johann had died, and you know the sad stories about how we don't have all of his compositions because all these stacks of paper that were left behind, his wife sold to people who used, like for the fishmongers to wrap fish in.
God.
You know?
That's so
There were
painful.
Bach compositions with like, can you imagine sometimes, oh, what's this?
Yeah.
Gets out these violins and like, oh, this is pretty damn good. No, but then you think Bach died in 1760.
1750.
50, right. And was it till about almost 90 years later when Mendelssohn premieres J.S. Bach.
Yeah.
And then, boom, then there's a sudden awakening. Now, I think other people knew his stuff. Beethoven knew the Preludes and Fugues.
Yeah.
I mean, any serious composer kind of knew that stuff. But I do think, given the nature of the classical period and the way they were writing, J.S. would have seemed a little old-fashioned.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's very much horizontal music writing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And the whole point of classical was to
Yeah.
line up the pillars and all that kind of thing. In a way. It's very simplified. But
I mean, we're still discovering Bach. I mean, the cello suites.
Yeah.
You know, cello suites, Pablo Casals.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
it took him 30 years, was it?
Yeah.
20 or 30 years? Pablo Casals actually discovered the words
Yeah.
when he was a young man.
When he was a young man, he
And
and
then
his father were walking down this alley, and they went to a music store. And apparently, at the bottom of a box in the corner,
This is in Spain.
this is in Spain, folks.
Not Germany.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out the mystery behind how
How
did
it
it
got
get
there.
there. Okay, so he goes into the corner and looks into this box, and at the bottom of the box, Bach's cello suites. Bach's cello suites. You know, and
So, and he was a boy, right? He was like 12 years old.
he was like
or
12
something.
or 13 years old when he found it. It was for his birthday.
Yeah, and his dad
His
bought it
dad
for him.
bought it for him.
And then he started to work on it, but it's incredible. I mean, he waited a long time, 25 years or
Something
something.
like that, yeah.
He was in his mid to later 30s.
30s back then.
And he already had a big career by then.
Oh, yeah. And he had the.
Can you imagine that? I've got a wonderful.
Yeah.
What's the Archduke trio? Piano
Archduke
trio?
trio?
Yeah. Piano
Yeah,
trio?
yeah, it's a piano trio by Beethoven.
Yeah, with. I can't think of their names right now. I think it could be Horzowski. I don't remember who the violinist is, and I could be wrong about Horzowski. And then
Vyacheslav?
Casals, yeah.
Oh, wow. That would surprise
It's an
me. I
old,
just love Hirschfeld.
but it's really interesting recording too because it was live.
Oh, good.
And Casals was one of those singing musicians.
Yes, he was.
You
yes,
can
he
hear
is.
him when he's playing,
Yep.
grunting and singing.
Yep.
Not obstreperously.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like
Not Glenn Gould. Not Glenn
necessarily.
Gould. But yeah, he
But
does.
you can hear some stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I get it because Ellsworth used to remind me sometimes. He'd say, "Mark, let the piano do the singing."
Yeah.
I'd get going a little bit. I don't think I do that as much now as I did, but anyway. So yeah, that what did we say about the Casals?
Casals. Oh, we were talking about Bach and Mendelssohn.
Oh yeah,
You know, and
the discovery.
yeah.
Oh, it came out somehow.
Yes.
Because of Carl Czerny.
Carl Czerny. We will.
So we got a couple ideas to talk about.
Yeah, we gotta put these stuff down.
So Carl Czerny and
Nadia Boulanger.
and I still want to do that. You are here.
Okay, we will.
Focus on Boston.
Well, so we're running at 2 hours now.
It's 17. Okay. Have you got anything else, or should we
I
stop?
I think we ought to. Yeah.
Call it.
Yeah, let's call it. I mean, we'll yeah, we will. At this
Well,
point,
this is pretty good, wasn't it?
oh, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
What did you think of my Irish accent at the beginning?
That was good. I didn't know what the hell you were going at with initially.
Oh,
I got it.
I should.
I don't know if they got it clearly said again too. So I make
Okay.
really good Irish chili.
Irish chili, very precise. He makes it sure there's 239 beans in it. One more would make it 250.
50.
Yeah.
And of course, Mr. Richard would love that.
Yeah.
He loves chili.
Incidentally, I did have some
Don't you?
chili this morning. For
Really?
lunch. Yeah. Kathy made some chili. It's 2 days old, but still
Oh, come on.
2 days
Soup
old.
and chili is better though. Oh, my
Oh, yeah.
God.
Oh, yeah.
The one thing that gets me though,
Uh-huh.
sometimes, Laura's from Southwest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now she's not like a super hot, spicy kind of cook.
Right.
But they're used to it a bit more out there,
Yeah.
Sometimes she'll put some in the chili or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can eat it. It's all good. and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But wait about until 3 days later.
Yeah.
And then you eat it again. It's like, what is it about hot spices? The longer they sit in something, they like get exponentially more. It's like, holy shit.
Well, folks, this concludes this episode of PSI.
Yeah, I hope you liked it.
I hope, yeah.
This is a little short for us,
Yeah,
but
it was a little.
it was kind of fun.
It was very fun. It was very fun. I had a very.
I like
good
the way
time.
back stuff about the old bookstores.
Oh yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah, if you know, that'd be a cool subject. If we can ever get some rolling commentary going on, like the forum on Facebook. We've got Facebook.
We'll do a live stream.
We never get to that.
Yeah, we can never get to that point. Mike, my old that guy up there at New Philadelphia, he was threatening to give us a call during our live stream if we ever do this. We'll see.
I've looked at the technology. There's a
Yeah.
machine. Yeah, we'd have to figure out how to do it. I mean, the best thing would be is if somehow we could receive phone calls like this.
Yeah.
And is there technology? If anybody knows, we can look it up.
Yeah.
Where all you'd really need to do is have like a Bluetooth speaker that you could send the call to, and then
Or they could
like,
just text us.
talk through the speaker.
They could text us. We could show the text. He
Or
asked me
email.
this. I don't
That's
know.
true.
That's kind of funny. But anyways, we'll be toying around with that idea in the
So
future.
we're interested in looking at that stuff. So the important thing is that you need to follow us, please,
Yes.
and subscribe to us, please. We've got some.
Like us.
I got an inquiry
You did.
from a person who's a friend of people that I know in the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Who was asking similar kind of things about our show, like you've done with this young lady here in Ohio.
Okay.
So we're exploring what options there could be to spread PSI
Yeah.
farther out there so more people could get into it. We devoted our lives and careers to this, and we're doing. And Yeah, we'd sit here and talk for free, I'm sure.
I'm sure we.
But it would be helpful. And we also think that, we're trying. He does a lot of research. I've got a lot of stuff up here. And so that's why they tend to go on, because I get talking about stuff. But we've brought a lot of cumulative years of experience and knowledge and everything, and our passions about this into this. And it'd be nice, to maybe make a little money for it, but also if we could, if we got it, because it has something to do with the number of people that are watching and listening, and then they'll hang. I don't know exactly how it works, but apparently they put you on a search engine and better, and then they'll hang advertisements on your page or something, and then we get residuals from that. And we could really we do some cool stuff with that.
So, folks, the MO. Give us a like, subscribe, comment, even if it's just emojis. Okay, it'd be cool. All right.
Yeah, join the club.
Absolutely. This is Mark.
This is Elmer.
And we are
PSI Piano Scene Investigation. Bye bye, everybody.